What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I'm your host. I'm Caitlin Kenneth Smith, and today I have an awesome guest who I've selfishly been excited to talk to the whole time. Hannah Hardy. She is a sports chiropractor, but she's also a CrossFit Games athlete, and actually just punched her ticket to the games on teams recently with the semifinals. So, Hannah, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, we were just talking about it off air how busy you've been.
Oh, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. I feel like it's nice like with semifinals. It's almost a break from everything and
Right.
I can just even though it is stressful to be able to like perform at the same time, I feel like it's a vacation almost. And even though my brain is on, I'm still talking to patients, I'm talking to online clients. At the same time, it's like, wow, I don't have other things that are like in the air. So and then it's like, oh, back to reality. It's like, actually, did you know you're a chiropractor too? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And
Forgot I'm not just a full-time athlete like most people.
I know, but it's fun. I would much rather have tons of things I'm juggling, or I have other things that I can also like put my time and energy into and create this overall like bigger identity of myself. So to be honest, if one isn't going well, like I have like so many other things, and I'm like, I'm actually I'm crushing life. Even if there's one subset, even if it's a big subset that maybe isn't going as well as I want it to.
Yeah, that's super true actually, because I feel like so many people like put their eggs into one basket, right? Especially as an athlete, it's like so many people identify themselves as like I'm the athlete, and then like they get an injury or maybe they don't qualify for the games or something happens, and now it's like, well, what am I? And you're just like, I'm an athlete, I'm a chiropractor, I help people, but I also compete, you know?
Right. And seriously, well, when I was in at Training Think Tank in Atlanta, I more or less lived that. I still did practice as a chiropractor, but
Hmm.
it was full force, like I would say 95% athlete, 5% chiropractor. And me actually moving back home and establishing my practice here, I and now having maybe like a 60-40 split, still athlete being the priority. It has just like taken a lot of weight off my shoulders,
Hmm.
just because it's, it even though like okay, even today, like training didn't go like as well as I wanted it to, or I didn't get in as much as I really wanted, but I gave 100% and I showed up at the clinic and I got to treat so many people that are like one's a mom just trying to live like her best life for her kids as she's like trying to scramble with them in the clinic. Another guy is he's about to go into the FBI, and I'm helping him feel good through his training so he feels best prepared for that. And now I'm here and I'm like, man, I had a fantastic day and it's 2 p.m., So
Yeah. Hell
so
yeah.
no, it's really cool to be able to just like have this split and to say you can definitely raise two things at once, even though people say like, oh, you have plan A and that's all you have. It's like for me, I don't operate well that way. So being able to turn off my brain, go in one direction, and then when that's done, okay, I can turn off my brain and then fully focus on the other one. It's
Yeah.
definitely how I think over this past year I've had like really grown both as a chiropractor and as an athlete.
Yeah. And I think that like it's so incredible that you say that because I think so many people they think like, oh, well, because I'm a mom or because I have a full-time job, I can't like train or I can't like go to the gym. I don't have the time for it. And it's really what you're telling me is it really comes down to what matters to you, you're going to make the time for.
Exactly. Seriously. It's definitely something that I feel like people just want people find it easy to label themselves as something. And I think sometimes forget that, well, you can change that whenever you want. Like you can add to that label, or it's like you said, it's like you might think you don't have the time or things along those lines. It's just you can sit down and say, no, what do you want to make a priority and go from there instead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So how did you get into, I guess we'll go into the CrossFit realm first. How'd you get into CrossFit?
Yeah, so the summer of 2013, I watched the games on ESPN with my dad, and he said, "Oh, our family friend does that." I'm like, "No way, she does what's this on the TV? Like this is so dope." And so I texted her and was like, hey, like I want to come to a class. And I went to like the Saturday teamer. And of course, the traditional CrossFit class isn't what's on the CrossFit Games, as I'm
Mhm.
seeing them like, lunge overhead and do GHD sit-ups and handstand walks. We did, rowing and toes to bar and wall
Yeah.
ball. And I couldn't do a toes to bar. And I was struggling to get the rower under like a 210 split. I did like wall balls. That was like, oh, I can figure these out. But I was so hooked from that. And so that was, but it was right before I started my junior year in high school. I was a three-sport athlete, then swam in the summer. So I only could go to the Saturday team workouts,
Hmm.
mainly. And then my senior year, instead of playing basketball, I said, okay, no, I actually want to do CrossFit, like whether it's okay, just to get fit and to get strong, but also maybe like touch into the competitive sphere. And then the rest is history.
Yeah. So I guess you were always kind of competitive being a three-sport athlete. That's a lot of sports. Which sports did you play? Basketball, obviously.
Yeah, so my first sport was swimming, and I did that year round until from age 5 to 11-ish. And then from there, instead of committing the 2 days, my mom's like, I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. for you. From then I just played every like in the fall I played volleyball, the winter basketball, the spring tennis. There's one season I played softball, that is not my sport though. But then I did summer league swimming. So that was kind of like my little rotation of sports.
Yeah. So you just always like to be competitive. And then CrossFit kind of was like, oh, I can actually compete in this. And it doesn't have to just be a Saturday morning kind of team workout thing.
Right. And for me, it's like in sports, I was never like the MVP athlete. I was like the one that I would always get the coaches award. I was really good at working hard. But
Hmm.
when it came to those sports specific skills, I was maybe average at best. So
I can relate to that so much.
yeah. So when it came to CrossFit, I'm like, oh, it's like it's the sport of working hard. I can do that. And okay, maybe like the higher skill gymnastics or the heavier lifts have taken me years and years to get versus like some other athletes. But for me, it's just like, well, no one can take away my work ethic. And it's just like, yeah. And then again, like from that, I feel like I seamlessly just like have rose through the ranks just because I've never thought about like taking a step back.
Yeah, I mean that's just a testament that effort is always a choice, you know? And it really
Yeah,
does like especially in the sport of CrossFit, like that's such a great point. It's like yes, like there are higher skilled movements and like strength is something that you have to build, but like you can't build it unless you work hard and stay committed towards it.
right. It's like I know that, genetics play a role. And then of course like your background, like, okay, when a swimming workout comes out, okay, I'm like this is what people feel like when
Yeah.
they have like some sort of advantage. But no, it is a thing of it like this sport will not reward you if you don't put in the work necessary and feel the pain and work on your technique and recover as much as you train. Uh,
Yeah.
there like you have to be so dialed in, and I think that's why I always like there's so much you have to be good
Hmm.
with CrossFit, so it keeps me coming back every day. But I mean, for me, I don't know if it's just maybe I have a screw loose, but like being able to just like tap into that fear of hurting and saying like, no, this is like exactly like what you asked for. And
Yep.
from there, it's like it's so like relieving for me. It's like, oh man, I did it. Like that I checked it off the box of okay, I made it this far to feel this sensation. It's like lean into it now. It's
Hmm.
like this is how you get better. And for me, I don't know. It's like it's very addicting. It's like okay, I'm like I want to toe that line like every day. And
Oh
then
yeah.
sometimes then I'm like, wait a sec, no, I don't. And then I'm like, okay, no, I miss it. And then I go back.
Yeah, I feel like there are so many times when at least I go into a session, I'm like, I don't want to be, I'd rather literally die than like do what I'm about to do. And you get like butterflies as you're hitting the start button. And then like you get into the pain and you're like, okay, here I am. Like, might as well go in because this is what I'm here for, you know?
Yeah, no, it's 100% that. Like, I don't think, and for me, I know when those butterflies go away, and again, that like wanting to like again feel that pain, like if when that goes away, and it only becomes dread, or yeah, I don't get those butterflies, and it's like you know that you don't. necessarily care. So that's when I know when I would be done with the sport. But for now, I feel them every day. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm like ready to go, even though I'm scared.
Yeah, I feel like half the time I'm just terrified for my workouts at this point in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like that's like I feel like that's your body preparing you, right?
Yeah, because
Uh,
it knows what's happening. It's like you turn on the music and it's like, oh no, I know
yeah,
this
I
feeling.
mean, it's like it's preparing you to be in the most optimal state. Of course you can go overboard,
Oh
but
yeah.
the have the lack of that as well is like I think it's like again, you want to find like that nice like little sweet spot.
Yeah, and I think that's the difficult thing with CrossFit, is that you do have to find the sweet spot because like there's so much to do and there's so many things that you need to improve at and like practice, but like so many people I feel like don't pay enough attention to recovery. I think we're getting better at it as athletes, but I do think there's always like that like, oh yeah, you have to actually recover harder. And you're in sports chiropractor, so I feel like you understand that maybe a lot more than other people. How did you actually get into chiropractic?
Yeah, so I like in undergrad, I was doing CrossFit, I was coaching at our gym. And my boss actually, like I used to train with him at 6 a.m. and I had a few injuries. He actually wasn't a Rossi provider in the area, and they are connected with the sport of CrossFit. So I saw him for a couple of my injuries, and within like 2 to 3 visits, I'm like back to training normally. It's like
Yeah,
it's like in a 2 week span. I'm like, what is this guy doing? I was like, this is so cool. I was like, this is cool. Like I'm intrigued of all right, because I've had like ankle sprains in high school, but it's like, okay, give it time. You're young, it'll heal up.
right.
But when I was getting like more like overused injuries, whether it's like any sort of tendinopathy in the shoulder, the elbow, or like the typical hip pinch sensation some people get when squatting. Yeah, like you'd easily shore them up. And I was so fascinated. He started also working for the University of Virginia. Then Reebok actually had a professional run club here in Charlottesville when I was an undergrad, and he started working with the like, with collegiate and professional athletes, and I was like, whoa, how do I become you?
Yeah.
Like I'm super interested, you know so much. Um and you work with the people that I want to work with. And he was like, I'm a chiropractor. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to chiropractic school. So that was like pretty much me and like my entrance into this world. To be honest, I was never adjusted before school. I like my boss, we did some manual therapy, but really focused on rehab.
Mm.
So that was kind of my take going into school. So, and then got my mind blown by how much I could do in chiropractic, like not even just adjust, but like in some states I can even, I could draw blood, I could read blood work. We have a whole base of medical knowledge, which is really cool. And that I've even taken into like being able to recover well. I've helped people with nutrition from like athletes to people with nutritional deficiencies. It's so cool, like what I've been able to now like grow my scope with. And
Yeah.
yeah, but now is okay for like me as a chiropractor, even going into recovery. Sometimes I do think maybe doctors aren't the best patients. And I need to take my advice a little bit more. And I'm learning that more and more as I'm not a spry 22-year-old anymore. I mean, I'm 28. I'm not that old. But it is the thing of okay, when it's like when I notice like okay, my power output on the Echo bike is down, or okay, no, it takes me like a little bit longer to like get to my working sets with weights. I'm not hitting gymnastic sets, or they don't feel as fluid as they typically do. These are all signs of okay, no, like all right, I haven't been putting as much into the recovery bucket, and
Hmm.
whether I need to. Okay, I typically for me, I reduce volume over intensity. I don't have all the time in the world, but for me, if I manage my volume well and only take if I take like 2 days of a lower volume but still hit the intensity high, then
Hmm.
I can come back stronger and add my volume back in. And being able to modulate load management and being okay with feeling a little bit of FOMO um, makes you stay in the sport for so much longer than someone who is just like, oh, I do this because it's on the paper. And
Yep.
it's like no, it's like it's like I think someone needs to the best athletes have this really good IQ of when they can push it, or they know that, okay, this is just volume to add for volume's sake, or to say that, oh, they did 6 things instead of 4 things.
Hmm.
Or to be honest, they did 5 hours of training versus they could probably just get a quality hour and a half in when they don't feel good. And,
Hmm.
that's going to move the needle so much more than getting stuff in that's maybe at like a 65 to 70% effort.
Yeah, I like to say more isn't better, but better is better. And that's something that like my coach has like banged into my head multiple times, like where I'd message him and be like, "Are you sure this is enough?" And that's just his response would be that every single
Yeah.
time. It's like, yeah, so like let's focus on intensity, not like let me just do another set because I can do another set. It's like, but were those sets actually like optimal or were they kind of like shitty because you were just trying to get in the volume?
Right. And I think it's something that I mean, you always go through ebbs and flows. It's like
Yeah.
there's sometimes that, that's way easier to say in your head and to respond to. And
Oh,
there's
for
other
sure.
times where you're like, that is the last thing you want to do because
Hmm.
it's like you think you need to prove something, or I mean, something we're probably going to go into is like, all right, maybe your nutrition wasn't on point like the few days prior. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to do the volume. But again, it's like saying like, okay, those thoughts can pop into your head, but it's like you never have to act on them.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to recovery, like you were kind of alluding to earlier, a lot of it does come down to like having like awareness. Like we were saying, like if like my splits are slower here when I know that like I usually can go much harder and it doesn't feel like this. Or like, wow, it's taking like this weight, my 70% feels like 100% today. And
Yeah.
I think that's like, oh, red flag. What did I do differently? Think logically, like, oh, did I sleep terribly last night? Did I maybe not pay enough attention to like, you know, prehab, mobility, whatever it is, or is my nutrition just not where it should be? And I feel like a lot of times, especially with female athletes, the nutrition is like hard for them because of the disordered eating and like, oh, we should eat this much to be this size. And like we always think like, oh, we need to eat as little as possible when it's like, no, you probably need to fuel like what I've learned, my journey here is like you need to fuel so much more than you think you need to fuel.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And like sometimes is especially like now that we're going into games training, like volume does go
Hmm.
up so you can handle the weekend of competition. And people get leaner and stuff like that. And like for me, it definitely plays with my mind because I see so many other people, they look jacked and ripped, and I like sometimes I'm just like, all right, no, like okay, I don't look like that. Like I don't really look that athletic. I mean, I look like I'm somewhat fit. I'm like, oh, maybe it's like maybe I need to cut my calories a little bit. And when I'm in peak games training, and it's like no, it's like it's always me like coming back to well, if you do that, like your performance is gonna go down, and then you won't be able to do like you won't be able to do like as much, and then you're just like stuck in this cycle because then it's like okay, it's like calories might go down, and then performance goes down, and then volume goes down, and then it's a never ending cycle
Hmm.
versus the no, it was like you it's like you have like doing the hard thing is not necessarily like you know the or doing the simple thing of that what of
Hmm.
fueling your body is not necessarily like the easiest thing. It's like heck, it's like yes, I understand you, but there's so many of these inner workings that it is daunting to be like, oh, I actually need to eat a heck of a lot more.
Yeah,
So I
especially when you don't necessarily feel like you want to, or you're having like those thoughts in your head that are like, no, don't eat. Like it's easier to just like restrict because that's where most people would find themselves comfortable.
yeah, yeah, it's seriously. And we push outside of our comfort zones every day. But then when it comes to the mental side of things, it's like I find that most people don't like also do that as well. It's like
Hmm.
it's way easier to do it physically than it is to do the mental work of oh no, you have to lean into that discomfort. It might just be easier because like you have the endorphins going for physical activity. But then yeah, like the mental side is like, oh, nope, you're doing the thing. And then you just sit
Hmm.
there and you're like, I don't know if I feel really accomplished. Like, I still feel the bad feeling. uh,
Yeah.
but that's always like 10 times out of 10. I mean, at least for me in my chapter, this chapter in my life right now
Hmm.
is no, I want to fuel. It's like I want to fuel to perform. And if I don't look like, what, I want to look like, or I don't look like, some statue, that's okay because like that's not how I perform optimally.
Yeah, it's not the priority right now.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, did you ever have times in your CrossFit career where you were like under fueling and like you felt the impact of it?
I mean, I think from I would say not in CrossFit because CrossFit is actually what saved me from
Yeah,
my eating disorder in the past. And I
same.
mean, I definitely like I still struggle with it to this day. Um, especially again, like especially seeing like some of my fellow competitors, and I think sometimes they're like, "Oh man, she looks like she can lift a lot. Oh, she looks like she's gonna be the best in the competition." And I look at me and I'm like, oh, I look like a blob, and then I end up podiuming. I'm like, oh, I had nothing to worry about. But
Hmm.
it's it's with before CrossFit, I was actually thinking about going into the military, and this from like my sophomore year in high school. I necessarily wasn't like the fit or the most healthy kid growing up. It was a lot of
Yeah,
McDonald's, Wendy's, um, sweet teas all the time. So
yeah.
I
That's just the
decided
generation.
yeah, I was like, you know what? Like that's a like a 10-piece McNugget with a dollar sweet tea was, a pre-practice or pre-game meal.
Plenty of protein.
I didn't know anything about nutrition. Uh, so I was perusing the internet, and I ended up on bodybuilding.com forums,
Hmm.
basically for people in peak bodybuilding prep.
Yeah, definitely ideal for an athlete.
Yes, very ideal, very ideal. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat chicken breast, I'm gonna eat broccoli. I was like, oh, there's no rice. Like, don't worry about carbs. Like, you don't need carbs. Oh, you don't need fat either. So it was literally like protein, vegetables, and then maybe like on occasion I would have like some fruit. I and I started losing weight and eating this quote unquote healthy diet. And like I was actually like I think just because I was at like an ideal body weight, I was actually doing really well in sports. And then like, I was getting that praise, and I was searching for that a little bit
Hmm.
more. I was getting recognized when I wasn't previously recognized.
Yep.
And that just like, and I was doing this like 5 days a week. The weekends I would take off. And then I was like, oh, well, what if I, was maybe more tuned on the weekends? So it happened on the weekends. And then I added in, oh, like people strength train. So let me add strength training on top of my practice. So I'd go
Yeah.
to a traditional gym in the morning and then go to school and then go to practice. And, then I ended up I was actually probably around like 155, 160 and not a healthy size. At the beginning of my sophomore year and then or towards the end of my sophomore year. And then by my junior year, I ended up developing this disorder where I lost this fat layer in between my superior mesenteric artery and my small intestine. So it
Interesting.
yeah. So the artery collapsed on my small intestine and I couldn't digest food. So I was that lean to the point I lost this essential fat layer. The only symptom I had was nausea when eating.
Mhm.
I just thought I was, I caught a stomach bug. Uh,
Yeah.
I went from around like 125 to 112 in a span of a week and a half. Um, and I was like, oh, something's wrong. And I was trying to eat, but I was just super nauseous. And went in the hospital for a week and was diagnosed with this disorder. But to be healed from it, I had to develop this fat layer again. So I did have a feeding tube, and that's what set off my eating disorder. I wanted this whole control about food, and
Hmm.
though I had disordered eating tendencies, it kind of kicked in full swing. And through my senior year, I was really struggling with it to the point of thinking that, or I was actually stuck in the hospital 6 weeks because they were waiting for an eating disorder facility to
Hmm.
have a open room for me to come to campus. And they gave me like one more chance to figure it out on my own. Because I was in and out of the hospital with this, like 3 or 4 times. And really, and then again, at that point, I was like, I told my mom, like, I want to start CrossFit now, like for real, for real. And she was like, Hannah, like, we can't go through this again. Like, I can't have,
Yeah.
you can't go into this facility. And I was like, I think this is going to be different. And being surrounded by so many strong individuals, you know, the first thing in our on-ramp is we're talking about nutrition. I'm like, this is so
Hmm.
cool. I was around the gym that I went to where it was like the competitive gym in the area. We had a regionals athlete, and I was like, I want to be as strong as you guys. And,
Yeah.
and they really helped me develop a better relationship with food so that even when I came to UVA for undergrad, I had a much, much, much better grasp on it. Um,
Hmm.
and seriously, like if it was for like those formative months, like at the end of my senior year, to best set me up for success in undergrad, like I would not be where I am today.
Oh yeah, because I mean, once what I've learned is like when you go through stressful times, your eating disorder tendencies start to like come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh shoot, what happened?
Oh yeah, like it's again like that's that comfort zone.
Hmm.
Like that's what it's like your body like knows. It's like, oh, like in the past, like you didn't like eat through this, or it's like, oh, when it's like you are stressed or you're having a negative body image is yeah, like you go into like for me, I go into a restriction mode. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, this is what you need to do. It's like, oh, like you're not getting the praise like some of your fellow like competitors or friends. So, this has worked in the past, so, like it's gonna work
Hmm.
again.
Yeah,
And for me it's like it'll never, I don't think anyone ever doesn't have the urge or doesn't have those thoughts.
I
But
agree.
like we've mentioned before, it's you don't have to act on them.
Hmm.
They are uncomfortable and they're going to be uncomfortable, but being able to say like, hey, I see this thought and recognize it, but say like I'm still gonna do like this other thing.
Yep.
Uh, that's what true strength is. So
Hmm.
seeing somebody, it's like seeing somebody do that, or seeing somebody like it's almost just like, all right, when a kid is being bullied and everyone else is standing back, it's like, no, be the kid that stands up for the guy
Yeah.
getting bullied, right?
Hmm.
It's never the most comfortable thing to do. You might be ostracized as well. Um, but it's always the right thing. So
Hmm.
it's definitely something that, yeah, I'll have to, figure out forever. But
Yep.
I think, the more automatic it becomes, it's just like it doesn't get easier. It's just like, hey, it's more automatic of, yep, I see you. It's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I want to restrict right now. I'm like, life's pretty stressful. I'm like, I'm not getting recognized or promoted on social media by being a good athlete, but that doesn't mean that, I restrict my food because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so important to continue to remind yourself that.
Yeah, like no, it's like a constant reminder. And that's something that I try to, teach my patients, to talk to my friends about, to talk to my nutrition coach when I'm like, hey, like I'm having these thoughts. And he's just like, that's okay. Like you're human. It's like those are totally just thoughts and fine. I'm like, oh
Absolutely.
yeah, you're right. Be more open and talking about it. I don't think it
Yeah.
needs to be like behind closed doors. It's like, yes, like I think like I never like want like sympathy. I just want to show people that, hey, this happened, like this is happens to me. This happens to like so many other people. You're
Oh
not
yeah.
alone in any of this, and we're all here to support each other through it. Whether it's just to talk, to give advice, or literally just to listen and just being like, yeah, that sucks. And
Yep.
sometimes it's all you need to hear too.
Really. Yeah. And I think that also highlights the importance of like, I know you help people with their nutrition and I help people with their nutrition, but like we also need people to help us with our nutrition. Like I think so many people think like, oh, I'm a coach so I can coach myself. And I'm like, no, no, you can't.
No.
I
Oh
think
my
it's
God.
so important to have somebody like kind of like in your ear, always giving you like actual data instead of you just like emotionally charging things.
Yeah, it's like I know for me is no, I've had a coach since 2016. And if it wasn't for, yeah, them saying like, hey, no, like it's like No, it was like, you need to eat more. Volumes going up. And rather than me being like, no, I've been okay at like this. Like, I think I'll be fine. Like, even with the increase in volume, you
Hmm.
need somebody to be objective because you're never going to be objective. Even with my like own training, there's like sometimes that like I'm now in a space of I get to kind of pick and choose, but a lot of it is like I still get advice from like my friends, my teammates, Brandon, to like help say like, oh no, like it's like let's do this because you need to work on it.
Yeah.
Or being like, no, like with me, I tend to do the things that I really need to work on. I'm a huge proponent of weakness work, whereas sometimes like it's like, hey, no, like, you need to strengthen your strengths too. So
Hmm.
I at least have them in my corner being like, you can have like a home run every now and then. I'm like, "Oh,
Hmm.
I can. And then, so I think everyone needs somewhat objective, and especially if you have like struggled in the past with things.
Oh yeah. Like like God bless. I worked with Jordan for a while and she was your teammate. God bless Jordan. I swear to God she spoke about me probably behind closed doors because I was a hard client for her.
Dude,
Be like,
I mean,
Caitlin,
Jordan,
eat 400 grams of carbs, and I'd be like 395.
she said, No, I even remember one time, this is when I like started dating somebody and she was just like, Hannah, you've been losing weight. And I'm just like, I've been eating. And she's like, you're looking a lot leaner. Like, I think you need to eat more. And of course, she works with Mike, my nutrition coach. So
Yeah.
I think like she would put like a bug in your ear to then like talk to me about. I'm just like, oh, but it's just because Jordan always wants the best for people.
Oh
So
yeah, 100%.
I appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
That's
So,
good.
into the CrossFit Games, like you've been to the CrossFit Games now twice,
Mhm.
soon to be three times, right?
Yep.
So you started CrossFit in 2013 and then you went to your first games in 2021, right?
Yep.
So what was kind of like, was it always the goal to go to the games or was there like a flip that switched and you were like, no, now it's the goal?
No, it's taken that long to make
Yep.
my CrossFit Games.
That's the answer I was hoping for because
Yeah.
most people don't understand. Like, unless you're like fucking Tia Toomey, you're not like, oh, I'm just gonna pick up a barbell and start CrossFitting. It's like, no, it takes like a very long time to actually develop these skills.
Right. And I think like sometimes it's like people would give up after like 2 years in. They're like, I didn't make semifinals. And I'm like, dude, did you realize yeah, like I started in 2013. Like then like truly started like committed in 2015 to say like, hey, like this is gonna be my thing, not all these other sports. And then it took until 2021 to finally say like, hey, like I'm actually like making it to the games. It takes time and
Yeah.
you can't be on anyone else's timeline. Uh
Hmm.
and I I want people to realize that. Sometimes I see on social media that's like, yeah, I've been a year into the sport and I have 10 ring muscle ups and a 175-pound snatch and this and that. I'm like, dude, it took me from like I don't even know. I guess from 20 I got my first muscle up in like 2017 or 18.
Yeah.
Uh like it's something along those lines. Like it took me absolutely like, took me so long. But
And
again,
that's more
like
realistic. Like those people who are like, I've been a year in the sport and I can do all these things, they're like the anomaly. But for some reason, everybody sees that as like, that is what it should be. And when they're not there, they're like, oh, I guess there's no hope, or they lose some belief, or they stop trying, you know?
right. And like it baffles my mind. It baffles my mind. I was like, no, it takes hard work and it's going to pay off. Like and you have to keep showing up. And for me, it was like I always wanted to go to the CrossFit Games on a team.
Yeah.
That was what I was so drawn to. And I don't know if it's because I played team sports growing up and I wanted something a little bit more tight knit. And I saw that like in like the CrossFit Games team sphere. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I was very fortunate that the CrossFit gym that I went in chiropractic school had a bunch of fit athletes. And I could convince them. I was like, hey, we should try this team thing. Like you guys are all retired individual athletes. And they're like, I don't know. And then I think I like, poked the bear enough to be like, okay, we'll try. And it just so happened that, like the stars aligned and
Yeah.
the three of us got to have our first games experience. The other guy, he went individual once already. Um, but no, it took, yeah, from, that 8 year span to say like, okay, I could finally call myself a games athlete. And then even, seeing my track record, it's been a year on, a year off, but it hasn't been for a lack of trying.
Yeah.
In 2022, we're a few spots out. In 2023, heck, I made a move to be with TTC and got to had the opportunity to go again and like was the coolest experience ever to represent Training Think Tank. In 2024, that was like whole life change for me moving back home, but it wasn't again for a lack of trying. I just think there was a lot of stuff going on like in my life, and again, we had a new team dynamic.
Yeah.
So it's again like even though like all right, even those that people say it's like, oh, your second year is always going to be so much harder than your first because you're losing like that like itch to get to your first CrossFit Games.
Hmm.
Again, it might like it th things might be thrown to the cards. They are completely out of your control, and but that shouldn't be a sign of you having to throw in the towel by any means, or oh, you're washed up after a year. It's like,
Yeah.
no, just like, keep showing up, and if like this is still like your main goal and your main drive, like you're going to get it. And or it's like I love the process so much that even regardless of if I never made a CrossFit Games ever again, I would 100% still be striving to be the
Hmm.
best person and athlete that I could be right now. Because
Yeah.
that's like, what I'm focused on.
Yeah. The process really is the best part.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I love training through and through. I've come to love competing more and more actually. Like even over like this past year, it's been like so much more fun for me. Um, I don't know if it's just like in a place of life that like for some reason it is, but
Yeah.
there's always something about training that I don't know. It's like I get to wake up and even if again, I'm scared of what's on the blog is I can't wait to get into the gym.
Yeah. What do you feel like what was like your best games experience moment? Like do you have a moment that like stands out where like this is like the highlight?
Um Man, there's like two that come to mind, and they both come from my first year making the games. The first one was like actually like at semifinals itself. We're at the Mid Atlantic CrossFit Challenge in 2021. We were in first place going into Sunday, beating CrossFit Mayhem. The craziest
That's
experience of
crazy.
all time. Of course, we dropped the third in the final day, it was, but hearing like our name be like on the loudspeaker and I like it was surreal. Like in that moment, it's like I just like looked to the other girl on our team, Kim, and we're like, we finally did it. And I know
Yeah.
like this was a goal that she has had for the same amount of time and it was like with us, it was like, and then the other guy it was his first year too, Dylan. It was like the three of us were like, oh, like this just happened. And with like, and that was I mean, for me, I mean, for this year, I wish Sam and Jordan had that experience because
Yeah.
that was, I'm not really a crier or a happy tears person. That was the happy tears were coming out like crazy.
Hmm.
So that was surreal. And then going to the games, actually just like the athlete experience of like the check-in process and
Yeah.
Noble, like going to the nines with their locker room experience.
Hmm.
That was like so like out like my jaw was on the floor the entire time
Yeah.
of what like they set up for us. So it was like those two things that stick out the most. Yeah, the 2021 was just special just because
Yeah, I bet.
that was my first year making the games. It was after COVID.
Oh yeah.
I was like actually was slated to do a lot more like team and individual sanctionals at the time, and I got to do Filthy 150 and Wadapalooza that year, but
Nice.
we're going to the West Coast Classic. We're gonna go to the Mid Atlantic CrossFit Challenge again. We had so many other things that were, I mean, ripped from everybody. So like I think that experience in itself was just like, oh man, we all had a hard year, and regardless, like again, we just like still showed up, even though we didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah. And that kind of goes into my next question, which is like obviously with the good moments, the highlights come the shitty moments or the, you know, the challenges. So What are some of the biggest challenges that you've gone through, whether it be at the games or just as an athlete in general?
Yeah. I there are like two things that pop out again. One was in 2022. I was probably the like fittest year of CrossFit like ever. I was like I'm hitting a groove in training. I I was kind of like fueled by anger because I didn't make our quote unquote A team at the gym that I was at in Cairo school even after going to the CrossFit Games the year before. So I had this like fire underneath of me. I had my best uh individual quarterfinals experience. I made my first individual semifinal, still opted to go team because of it. And after like my season was over in semi or first semifinals in 2022, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go individual. And then a month later, I ended up falling from the gymnastics rings and almost breaking my leg. I had a bone
Yeah.
bruise that went through over 90% of my bone. Um, and I was just like, all right. It was 4 weeks of non-weight bearing. I didn't squat from like July 4th weekend to October.
That's crazy.
It's like an air squat.
Yeah.
It was, I was like, I have no clue like how I'm going to like I was at peak fitness to okay, like a 65-pound like thruster does not feel great right now. Like I still feel a very dull ache in my bone and I'm like, will this thing ever heal? And for it's like for that I really just put a lot of faith in my coach at the time, a lot of faith in God. And for me, and that was even me like all right, I uprooted my life from Florida where I went to Cairo school to training think tank and be
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm just gonna, take this leap of faith, hoping that everything works out. If I let's again like continue to show up and do what I can do. Um, and like that, even though like, all right, I had that huge traumatic experience, I still went to like we qualified for the CrossFit Games out like on team in 23, even though my whole off season was me figuring out if I could do like a squat again. So like
Yeah.
that was something that was probably like my like one of my harder moments. Um, and then it's like really like the I think like for me, like something that has been like recently is um trying to figure out how to do like have this appreciation for an individual sport with somebody. So
Mm.
I say this as in like yes, I have the team,
Yeah.
but it's always been like they like also have like all their families, and it's like me like all right at the end of the day, my parents aren't like the biggest like into CrossFit, so for me is like I like um would just go back to my hotel room and I'm like all right, you did the thing.
Yeah.
So I think I've been like struggling a lot, being like, hey, how can how can I like just like really just like I want to do this sport for something bigger than myself. So I think for me is I like have been exploring my faith a little bit more,
Hmm.
and saying like, hey, like I give this to the glory of God. And I find like again, just like with any struggle, I will almost find myself like trying to like maybe like off on my own little island and forgetting that okay, like yeah, like I'm doing this for something bigger than myself, whether it was for training think tank, now the Imam company. And then again, like now I have it's like, but having God like that in
Yeah.
the entire time too. And for some reason, I don't know why, it is something that I think that is you have to consciously remember.
Yeah.
Or else it's like, okay, it's like knowing that it's like, okay, I'm doing this for something like bigger than myself.
Yeah, it's really easy to kind of find yourself in like that space where you start to feel sorry for yourself, whether it be like with an injury or something, or with like, oh, I don't have as much support as this person. When it's like,
Yeah.
no, you're always supported. You just have to look differently at it because people don't look at the big picture enough.
Right.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, injuries is tough. I think the biggest reason why injuries is tough is because kind of what you were saying before is you doubt, like, will I ever get back to it? And then when you start getting back into it, you like, I'm sure when you like back squatted for the first time after that, you were like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. Like, my leg's just going to snap under me or something. You have that like thought every time you do these things.
Yeah. And I mean, even like that's for like through like any injury. And
Oh, yeah.
it's like the faith, like you have to have like, faith in yourself and faith in your rehab. And
Yep.
I mean, you might be it's like, yes, it's always going to be scary. Like
Oh,
to
yeah.
be honest, like even when I go through like little, like I call them like niggles, they're not like
Yeah. When you
injuries.
said that to me the other day, I was like, I've never heard that word until I heard Ricky Garard say it once. And I was like, now I love that word more than anything.
Yeah, it's like I classify that like I'm like this is a scientific term is a niggle. And I was like it's not full-blown injury. Like I can still do things. It just
Yeah.
like doesn't feel right or yes, it does cause pain.
But
I
it's not something to ignore, which is what most people do.
right, right. It's like, hey, like we still need to do something about it. This
Hmm.
it's your warning sign. It's like
Yeah.
okay, it's that yellow light to be like yeah, you can keep going, but at some point the red might show up.
Yeah. Your body's going to be like, I'll force you to stop. Don't worry. Just
Yeah,
that's when you should probably like, okay, let me, go to my PT or let me like do some extra mobility or maybe deload a little bit.
right. And that's like it's like scary because you never know. Like you guys you also think like you're gonna be the anomaly of
Yeah.
like the Brooke Wells incident, right?
Yeah.
Like yes, she did have like something with her elbow going into it. Knew she was going to dislocate her elbow during that
Yeah.
run match. She didn't know that. She wasn't going to walk up to the bar. She wasn't walking up to the bar thinking like I'm gonna just like my elbow's gonna dislocate, right?
Yeah. Or like, I really hope I don't dislocate my elbow right here. Like she wasn't thinking that. She was just like, rip it?
Right. And so like I think our bodies are just like you might be that person. And I was like, no, more often than not, you're not.
Yep.
And even though like okay, like even me as a healthcare provider, I have to have the same conversations with myself. So
Oh, yeah.
it's like going through that injury. It's like, hey, it's like you have been doing quad extensions like none other. We have been doing every single like open chain thing that like you can even think of. I have been walking somewhat, maybe like 25 feet before I have to sit back down onto a bench. Um, it's like you're more than it's like you are more than capable of this 85-pound squat. and
Yep.
like and you can take it as slow as you need to and you can always bail and it's like I had a pad in front of me so I
Yeah.
could like at least like my leg was going into that and not like
Hmm.
the ground but it's yeah it's always again like so much of the sport and I mean so much of life is how you as like how you're talking to yourself
Yeah.
and
Really.
because it's like like you can be like your own hype woman and in that moment I'm trying to be objective and as well as like you got this um but then again you can be that opposite side of again staying in comfort and staying in fear and staying in this like not knowing realm and it's like hey it might just be safer just to stay here uh
Yeah.
and again it's like you recognizing all the voices and than saying like I'm going with like this one today. So
Yep, it's a choice. Like, I herniated a disc. I think it was like probably almost a year ago at this point when I was doing GHD sit-ups, and for so long after that, I was like, I'm never doing a GHD sit-up again. Like I told Jordan, I remember at the time, I was like, I can't even look at a GHD, let alone like think about sitting on one. And I remember there was one day, like several months down the road, like I was doing rehab, I was a lot better. And my coach programmed GHD sit-ups and he programmed like 10 of them. And I was like, I can't do that. Like I can't do GHDs. And he's like, you can. Like I don't care how low you get. You just sit on that thing. I remember literally crying on it. My husband was like trying to help me do it. And then yesterday I'm doing like sets of 20. So it's like crazy to be like, it went from I'm crying on a GHD sit up because I'm so afraid of what could happen, but probably won't because of the amount of times I've done GHDs without herniating a disc.
yeah.
Then it's like the story you tell yourself, like, no, like the one thing that I literally have it written on my whiteboard is Caitlin, you are okay. And every time I like feel that moment, I look at it and I'm like, I'm good. Like we're gonna be fine. So it's really the story you tell yourself matters.
Yeah. No, and I love that. I love also leaving like little signs. Like, I mean, I write on
Hmm.
my mirror all the time. I try to write on like the whiteboard in the gym or in like my notes. Like,
Yep.
of course, like I'll put my feelings, but I'll be just like, you did a good job today, or
Yep.
I was like, I was proud of you for this moment.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it is like, and again, it's a constant work in progress, and we're not gonna, knock it out of the park every single day, but just like the constant conscious effort of just, I mean, being nice to yourself and being supportive or being, real when you need to be real with yourself.
Yeah.
That, I mean, that just makes life more enjoyable. I mean,
Oh,
in the
yeah.
end, it's like I want people to be, yeah, but like better athletes, but like better humans in the long run. And I feel like, I mean, for CrossFit is an awesome vessel to do that because it's you and yourself a lot with your own thoughts for an extremely long amount of time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it gives you a lot of practice to be able to, rewrite the narrative.
For sure. So my last question for you is if there's somebody listening to this right now and they're kind of in a position where they're like, I kind of want to do this thing, whether it be CrossFit or any sort of athletic, but I'm afraid. Like, what would you say to that person who's like wants to take the plunge but is kind of hesitant on it?
What would be the worst thing that would happen if you tried? And asking yourself that. It's like,
Hmm.
what would be the worst thing? I know, like, I mean, I say that to myself every day is like in any endeavor of, all right, that is a little bit spooky and daunting. All right, if I push this set of toes to bar, what would be the worst thing that would happen in this workout?
Hmm.
Or if if I went down this like new chiropractic venture, what would be the worst thing that would happen? Okay, like it falls through, but I still have like, my other clinics and my other patients.
Hmm.
So I always like would ask yourself that is okay, like what like finding the source of the fear, and then when you found an answer that just like hits home in your heart of answering the okay, what is the worst thing, is okay, it's like, is it still worth it? And then going from there.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important because so many people fear like failure or what people might think. So it's just like there's always going to be somebody who hates. You're always going to fail. It's part of the journey. So like might as well just go all in.
Yeah, yeah. There, like you will always regret giving 80% because there's
Hmm.
always this wonder of okay, but what if I gave what if I gave it my all? It's like
Yep.
if you fail, it's okay. Like but you gave your all, and that's what you need to be most proud of.
100%. Awesome. Well, this has been an incredible conversation. I want to thank you again for making the time through this busy week to get on the show.
Yeah, again, it's a pleasure to be here. Seriously, thank you so much for having me.
For sure. Well, I'll put all of Hannah's information down below so you can go follow her on Instagram. But other than that, go out and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.